So 5 years ago, there was a really remarkable discovery in South Africa of a new species of early human called Australopithecus Sediba. There was an adult female that was discovered at this cave site, and her skeleton is remarkably complete. It's just a magnificent skeleton. And what we're learning from this species, among many other things, is that she walked in a very different way than most humans do today. And in fact, she walked in a different way than other Australopithecus species in the past walked. And it tells us that there were many different forms of bipedalism that evolved over the course of human evolution. That this typical progressional picture of human evolution of a chimpanzee-like animal evolving into a human-like animal in a linear fashion is simply wrong. That there were multiple ways of being an upright walker. We know from comparing DNA between humans and chimpanzees that they last shared a common ancestor in Africa somewhere between 7 and 10 million years ago or so. And one of the major changes that happened in the human lineage compared to the ape lineage was that we started walking on two legs. And of course, the thing that we contact with the ground when we're walking on two legs is our foot. So the anatomy of the foot fossil is going to tell us quite a bit about when and under what circumstances and sort of the pattern of foot evolution and how it was that humans evolved upright walking. Fortunately, we've found many foot fossils. Lots of them are just isolated bits here and there throughout East and South Africa. Every once in a while, a really wonderful fossil is found that is not just a foot bone, but foot bones enough to constitute an entire foot. This was discovered in Tanzania in the 1960s and is almost 2 million years old. And what these bones tell us is that upright walking evolved a long time ago. We know that it evolved by about 4 million years ago. In fact, this shin bone, which forms the ankle joint, which was discovered in Kenya, is the oldest definitive evidence we have of very human-like upright walking as far back as 4 million years ago. One of the really interesting things about a foot is that there are 26 bones in each foot. So 52 total bones in foot bones that we have in the human skeleton. And if you were going to start from scratch and have a structure that was going to push off the ground in the way that we require our foot to do, you wouldn't have 52 moving objects in that structure. And the reason that the human foot is structured the way it does is because we evolved from a foot that was a mobile grasping appendage. And we know this by comparing our foot to our closest living relatives, the chimpanzee. So the chimpanzee has a big grasping toe that acts almost like my thumb, grabbing onto tree branches. It has a very short and mobile midfoot that allows it to climb trees and do what chimpanzees do well. And that foot evolved from a foot like the one we see here. This is a foot from something called a proconsul, which lived in Africa upwards of 18 to 20 million years ago. Also a very mobile grasping foot, mobile midfoot. And it is from this kind of foot that the human foot evolved as well. There are lots of different ways in which bipedalism unfolded in the human fossil record. And so what we're realizing now as more and more of these fossils are discovered is that there were more ways of walking around our world in the past than perhaps what we see in today's, in the variation that we see in today's humans. Lucy was discovered in the 1970s, and she still remains one of the icons of our field. And she tells us without question that by a little over 3 million years ago, our ancestors were walking around their world on two legs. And her foot is particularly interesting to me because it tells us that although she walked on two legs, the set of her ankle is similar to what we find in humans today who have flat feet. So although her species appears to have had somewhat of an arched foot, we can tell that from other bones of other individuals, we can tell that from the footprints that were left in Tanzania, but her particular ankle joint, the way it articulates together, is the same sort of angle that's formed in humans today who have asymptomatic flat feet.